We're on. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us at the Festival of Storytellers. It's a wonderful day to be here, and there are so many exciting, wonderful authors, over 150 authors. So make sure that you check us all out. And my name is Dr. Joanne White. I'm a certified life leadership and business consultant and coach, an energy master teacher. I've actually taught children with special needs and children with emotional challenges for many, many years. And my book, which is a bestseller and has won many awards, is called More Heaven, because every child is special. And this book, I have other books, but this book is actually based on a true story, my story. Many years ago, I was teaching special education, and many children throughout the United States were still not allowed in public schools. Children with special needs and autism, or if they were kicked out or they had very limited education. We're talking about over 1 million children who were left out of school. And many school districts didn't just had to say, hey, we can't do anything. And they were kind of left off the hook. So what happened is that the government decided, hey, school districts, we're giving you money for education. You're going to need to figure out a way to really educate these children and bring them back into the schools. And so I was living in Philadelphia at the time. I was hired as the first teacher to open this new program for children. The first little girl came in a taxi because she had autism. They were afraid to put her on the school bus.
Mhm.
And the story goes on, and many of these children just were very challenged, and yet there they were, ready to learn in their own way. And what I did at the time was very innovative, although now they're doing that. I did whatever I needed to do to enter their world, to allow them to feel comfortable so that they could enter my world. I used play therapy, I used movement, I used dance, I used play, I used whatever I needed to do to really engage these children to learn. And they did. And they grew together and they grew separately. And we opened up 2 more classes the next year. And that was the beginning. Now, we still have a long way to go in education and in helping many children learn, and also supporting these children as well as their parents. And yet it's beautiful to see that there has been some continuity and some change. I have so many other books that I've been co-authoring: the Teen Handbook for Self-Confidence, Unwavering Strength, A Journey Within, Self-Discovery for Women, Sense Your Way to Life Satisfaction, The Secret to Lasting Relationships, Mastering the Art of Success, and on and on and on. I've been writing since I've been able to write. And writing is just something that I love, and it's also very, very guided. And today you're going to actually hear someone very special whose book, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, is so delightful. You're going to love the story and love the person. And I just want to thank Readers Magnet for all the hard work behind the scenes, for everything that you folks have been doing tirelessly every day. You've been connecting with, like I said, about 150 authors, and it hasn't been an easy job. So my gratitude goes out to all of you, and appreciation for all your help and all your support and for making this possible. This is about authors. And that's a beautiful thing. It's not about publishers. It's about authors and their stories and how we are working together to change lives and to help others grow and to share our stories. And many of the stories are based on truth. So you'll hear that today too. And I have a beautiful panelist, Nikki. Would you like to introduce yourself, Nikki?
Yes, hi. My name is Nikki Collins Geigert, and I am a former teacher. I've led a very interesting, varied life. Not only was I a teacher, but I was a gymnastics school coach, a gymnastics school owner, an instructor for USA Gymnastics. So I met many Olympians, and in my gymnastics school, I also had one budding Olympian who became an Olympian, Tracy Talavera, in the 1980-1984 Olympics, silver medalist and beam. And I was a consultant for NAEYC, which is the National Association for the Education of Young Children, and an international education consultant, a personal fitness trainer, but I've always been a photographer. That's been my passion, my art outlet, and my writing. The first writing I did was my gymnastics curriculum guide, which I sold nationally. And then my second book, which is called Read, Move, Learn. And it's about incorporating music, movement, and literacy skill development for young children, all in one area. So we use 70 early childhood storybooks and put music together with them and all of those things. Then from there, I wrote, we traveled with our nieces, so I wrote Magical Family Trip to Magical Madagascar and Beyond. And this is teenagers' exposure to international travel and encountering all kinds of animals, different people, different customs. My newest book is called A Girl's Greek Odyssey. And again, another teenager's perspective of international travel. And she's an athlete. And so we climbed Mount Olympus, we swam, she ran to all different kinds of Greek ruins, all of those things. And then, of course, Who's Yawning Now? And it's all about a variety of animals that I have photographed yawning, something about them, and what their level of endangerment is. And that's my story.
Beautiful story. Thank you. So before I introduce our wonderful author, I want to tell our audience to please mute your mics. There will be a time for you to chat, and we'll have questions later on, and I'll be able to call upon your questions. So it's really important that we don't hear you, but we just really hear Nelibeth Plaza. And her book, Is It Santa? This is her second book. She's going to talk a lot bit about the book, but behind the scenes earlier, we got a glimpse not only of Is It Santa, but also Nelibeth's first book, which is delightful. They're both delightful. And even though it's not Christmas, many children can still enjoy this beautiful story that's a little bit of a mystery and fun. And she's going to tell the story herself. Nelibeth Plaza, share Is It Santa and your other book with us.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nelibeth Plaza, and I am the author of two children's books. The Red Oak Rocking Chair, which is based on my granddaughter. And the rocking chair takes on human characteristics, personifications. And the rocking chair experience everything that grandparents and parents experience, from a toddler's mischief, crawling and biting furniture, to when he leaves away to college. and the rocking chair experienced the empty net syndrome. So my book is a little different, and I will do a little walkthrough with you after I share a little bit about myself. And of course, my second one is It Santa? It's based on a true story. It's a mystery. And I wrote it thinking about my grandsons. When they were very young, they wanted to go to the library and look and take out a mystery book. However, they were mostly chapter books, and it was difficult for them to read them. So I decided to write a book for young children about mystery and based on a true story. So I'm going to begin talking about a little bit about myself.
Tell us a little bit about you, and then we have some questions and go back to your book. And maybe you could even read an excerpt later. We have time.
Sure. I would like to share about myself that I am Latina, and that back in the days, it was expected to be married at a very young age. So when I was 18 years old, I was already married, and I had my first daughter, Rebecca. 4 years later, I had my second daughter, Elizabeth. At the age of 27, I saw myself as a single mom. So I decided to go to college. So I went to Brooklyn College, and I got a bachelor's degree in early childhood education. I continued my education at nighttime and in the weekends, and I received a master's in elementary education. I continued my education, and then I became an assistant principal. Altogether, I served at the New York City Board of Education for 27 years. 2019, I decided to retire to fulfill my childhood dream, which was to write.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So you've been writing these books, and there's probably so much more. Now, you said initially that Is It Santa? It's really based on a true story, and that really got me going here, and I'm sure it did that with our audience too. So I don't want to give everything away because it is a mystery, right? But just tell us a little bit about that true part of it.
Okay.
without giving away too much.
This happened December 23rd. I went into the classroom to Alexis, my coworker, and I wanted to wish her a happy holiday before our Christmas break. And that's when she started telling me that, the day before, when she got home from work, that she discovered that her Christmas basket that she had baked cookies for her family had been broken into by an intruder. So there was cookies all over the kitchen counter and the adjacent living room, on the coffee table and tables, the sofa, and that the red poinsettia plants that were on the windowsill had been knocked down, and there was soil all over her living room. And that's when she called her husband, who was a firefighter, and he said, leave the house because we don't know who's the intruder.
Right.
And I'm coming home from work. So Alexis and Brian did their own investigation and search, and their discovery was that there was a squirrel living in their attic. And it was their new purchase home.
Oh, no.
You know what? I can relate to that. I had a squirrel in my attic that I had to figure out a way not to get it killed because I didn't want to kill it, but to gently have it escorted outside of the attic. Yes.
That's what they did. Yes. So apparently this squirrel came in from the chimney top and down the chimney into the vent of their stovetop vent. that blows out the hot air.
Oh.
And he grabbed the cookies that were placed on the stovetop.
He was very grateful. I mean, he had several meals, but he made a mess, right? So somebody is asking, because these illustrations are beautiful, and they're asking, like, who made the illustrations for you?
The red oak rocking chair is Maya's kindergarten picture, and that's why she has that beautiful smile. So I gave it to Life Rich, who did the publication of this book, and they just cut and pasted over the rocking chair.
Beautiful.
Most of all of the illustration are my ideas. So I made sure that they did the illustration the way I wanted it. So they're all my ideas. I'm not an artist, but I have great ideas in my mind.
You certainly do. And you mentioned earlier, again, before we were live, that Maya's pictures, because she's an artist, that her pictures are in the book too. Can you share that with us a little bit?
Yes, I would love to share that. Since Maya was in kindergarten, she had been painting. So this is her kindergarten. Can you see the kindergarten portrait?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that's her kindergarten portrait.
So she's been doing that since like forever.
Yes, yes.
Amazing.
Here's another one. I made sure that each page had one of her portraits. This is a teapot. And I believe it was an assignment in college.
Mm.
My favorite, here's another one, Maya self-portrait.
Oh, yeah.
Wait.
Now I can see it. Yes.
Yeah.
Maya self-portrait. But my favorite is the last page, the portrait of her mom. Her mom, Rebecca, had just given birth to Maya. And I took that picture and Maya did a portrait. And that is her dad, that she made a portrait of her dad and herself when she was a baby.
What a gifted family, right? I mean, an author and an artist.
And I would like to share the rocking chair. Wait, the rocking chair has tears in her eyes.
I see it.
Because Maya has gone away to college. So is it okay if I just read that page?
Yes, do that.
If I had a mouth, what wonderful words I would speak. If I had a nose, I would be sniffling. If I had eyes, they would be filled with tears. If I had tears, I know I would cry. And if I had lips, I would kiss Maya goodbye.
That's sweet.
That is so beautiful.
So the rocking chair goes through all the different stages of early childhood. One of my favorite, when Maya's teething and how annoying the chair felt with all the crying because Maya had a fever. So the chair grows ears.
Oh, look at that. So inventive, and look at the eyes too.
Yeah.
They did a great job with your imaginations and the illustrations to match.
Yes, they did.
Very
Yes,
sweet.
Okay.
yes.
So I just want to say something. You read with expression, which is so beautiful, and it's so important because it really engages people. Why is that so important, especially for children? I mean, you engaged both of us, Nikki and myself, but and our listeners. But why is that so essential?
That is so essential because as you're reading with expression and thinking your voice, the children, you can actually see their faces tilting and their eyes, they kind of, twitch because they're getting it. They actually can create their own mind movie. And by doing that, I feel that children want to mimic you, and they themselves do it too. So storytelling is a passion of mine. I always tell story to my daughter Rebecca when she was a baby, my daughter Elizabeth, and they're adults now, and they did the same thing. Rebecca did the same thing with her children, and I also did it with my grandchildren.
Beautiful.
So it's very important.
And you know what, like I said, not only does it engage us, but the excitement builds when the voice is going into all these different ups and downs and expressions. We have another question from the audience, and that is, what age group are your books really for? And this is an interesting question because you tell us why.
Okay. I be honest with you, they're geared for elementary all the way up to 5th grade. But of course, parents can read it to their young ones at bedtime. Grandparents can read the Red Oak Rocking Chair because they can make that connection. Okay. And that was my goal, that I wanted to connect with my readers because they can relate to the different stages that a newborn baby goes through.
Yes, and especially when the children are leaving the nest and the chair is crying, many parents really go through it's a wonderful time to send your children away. It's a new life for them, and yet it's very mixed emotions, and you portray that beautifully. So I think to answer the question, like you said, I think all ages, because there's something in it for all of us that we can identify with, and I think that's so essential.
I agree. And one of the things that I agree about that book is that everyone can relate to a rocking chair. And
I need one.
So everyone can relate to it, whether their grandparents rocked them in the rocking chair, telling them, a read aloud, reading a book, or playing finger games. They can relate to that.
Nikki, did you have a question?
I just wanted to comment that before our daughter was born, the first gift that he got for me, actually, it was for my birthday, which was right before our daughter was born, was a beautiful rocking chair. And my daughter now has that rocking chair, and she lives in Zimbabwe, Africa. So that chair has been transported all the way to Africa.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, my daughter Rebecca has the rocking chair now. But my mother rocked in the rocking chair. I rocked in the rocking chair. My daughter and my granddaughter. So it's 4 generations.
And it will continue too, right? To more generations.
Yes.
So another question that somebody's asking is, where did you get all the information for the characters and figure out the characters, especially with your Santa? Is it Santa book?
Great question. Is it Santa? The characters is my daughter Rebecca, mother Rebecca, my granddaughter Maya, my grandson Charlie, and my grandson Jacob. They are the characters in the book. The father, the firefighter, and their uncle Joe, the firefighter. Those are the characters in the book. As for the squirrels, there's only one squirrel in Alex's attic, but I created a whole family of squirrels.
So they were the ones all in them.
Right. And I got the idea because it was Christmas, and I have a bench that my daughter Elizabeth gave me with 4 rabbits, and they're all dressed up in Christmas outfits. So when I looked down on my Christmas tree, I said, oh my God, that is perfect. So that's how I got the idea, and I'm going to show it to you, of the 4 squirrels sitting on a park bench.
And
So fun.
they're dressed like Santa. Or
And
they're
they're
dressed
all dressed like Santa, because that is what I had underneath the Christmas tree in my house. And you can see the prints on the freshly fallen snow. So they're mischief, these little squirrels.
They are mischievous. They really are.
And one of the things I wanted to point out is that because I am Latina, I use Spanish names. So the squirrels, their names, I can read a little bit of this. They were all dressed in Christmas hats, scarves, and sweaters. All 4 of them, Pepito, Isabela, the mother, and their 2 children, Margarita and Panchito. Now, to Jacob's surprise, they all had Mama's chocolate chip cookies in their hands. Margarita, who was clutching a tiny little basket full of cookies.
Wonderful. Now, you said that the children are in the book and your family's in the book. How did they respond and feel about being in your books like this?
I think they were really surprised. What I did was I sent pictures of them to
Did they know in advance that it was going to happen? Or
yes,
okay,
yes, and of course they knew that I was going to use their names. So I sent pictures, and what they did was they did it in cartoon version. So that's
they did a great job with the illustrations. They really did.
I love what ReaderMagnet did. I love this book. I really do love it. It's so full of details and excitement and mystery. So yeah, I sent pictures and I told them how I wanted them dressed and how I wanted the hair done and all that. So, and they worked with me. They worked with me. They did a beautiful job on ReadersMagnet.
They certainly did. Kudos to them, and of course to you. So let me get back to the Santa story for a little bit. And the family comes in and all the food, all the cookies are all over. How did they know it was a squirrel? How did they investigate?
Great question. Once Mother Rebecca called her husband, the firefighter, immediately he sets the fire station alarm. So the whole firefighters come into the house, which is family oriented because their uncle is Captain Joe. So the whole family's firefighters. And what happens is that they all start investigating with their magnifying glass and their flashlight. And they're all in the kitchen. But Jacob, the youngest child, is very inquisitive, and he wants to be a private eye investigator. So Jacob runs into his room, and he gets all of his equipment, and he does his own investigation. So the idea, as I was writing it, is that the house is full of heroes. They're our essential workers. Right. They run into the fire as everyone else is running out of the fire. So they are our superheroes. So what I did was I gave the power to the youngest in the family because Jacob was only 6 years old, and he becomes the superhero.
I think it's great. So does he hear the squirrel? Does he see the squirrel? What?
Oh, no. Jacob uses this magnifying glass. Remember that the squirrel knocked down the poinsettias on the living room floor? So Jacob takes the magnifying glass and he starts following those footprints. He climbs up on a chair and he follows all the prints on the windowsill and he looks out the window, and that's when he solves the mystery.
So what did they do with the squirrel?
What did they do with the squirrel? Well, the squirrels are part of the story.
So be careful, don't give it all away.
Yeah, it's part of the story. So the squirrel are living their lives.
Okay,
They're not going nowhere.
that's good. So what do you think is, I want to go back to the book about the rocking chair for a little bit, if you don't mind.
No, I don't.
Why do you think it's important for us to see the rocking chair almost like a human experiencing all of the emotions that people are going through with their children? It's so creative. I love it. And Nikki was mentioning that before too. Why do you think it's so important that we see the rocking chair in that aspect, in that way?
Because the rocking chair is really expressing all of the actual emotions that I went through. So I'm really telling my story about my granddaughter, who was my first grandchild. I'm really telling my story through the rocking chair, and I made it into a children's book. But everything that the rocking chair is expressing, especially the empty nest syndrome, I really did go through all that.
So let's talk a little bit about the empty nest syndrome, because it's not easy for parents, and it can be a difficult time. I have a friend right now who was crying. She said, my daughter, and she's very happy for her daughter who's moving on and getting her own place and moving out into a new state. But like you said, with the tears from the rocking chair, show us that again, that it's not easy. How do parents kind of balance the different emotions with what they're going through at the time?
My message to my readers and my audience is to please enjoy every moment, because they do grow so quickly and they do leave you, and you do feel that emptiness. I mean, I was very saddened when my granddaughter became a teenager and I saw her in her gown when she went to her dance, when she graduated from high school, the prom. I was very emotional. I was like, wow, Maya's not a baby anymore.
Right.
And time passes by. So my message is that when you have them little, enjoy every moment and every experience that the children go through in their exploring their world. Because soon enough, they will leave you, unfortunately. And that detachment I share through the rocking chair.
Mm-hmm. My thing is, I always tell people, your job as a parent is to give your children wings to fly, because and to have that mindset that you are to prepare them as best that you can to be on their own and move forward through their life.
Yes. I mean, a lot of people ask me, oh, that little girl's so cute. And then when I express to them, that little girl's in college, they're like, oh my God.
But it is so important, because they have to lead their own lives. And I want to acknowledge what Nikki said too, because we have to, like you said, prepare them. If we just wanted to keep them close to us, it's great, it's wonderful, but then how do they move forward and be independent and do what they need to do to follow through with their dreams, with their lives?
Correct.
So it's really very important.
Yes, a lot of love and a lot of nurturing while you have them, and trust them to go on their own journey.
Yes. Even though that is hard in itself.
Yes.
For example, like when our daughter said on our first trip to Africa, she said, I'm going to move here one day. And my husband and I said, Sure, whatever. But she did. That was hard.
For how long did she live there? Is she there now?
Yeah, she's a doctor. She moved to Zimbabwe. She ended up marrying a widower who is a dairy farmer. And so she has legally adopted his youngest child. And
Beautiful.
so she became, with the oldest child, she became an instant grandmother. And my husband and I became instant great grandparents, parents and great grandparents.
Do you see, how often do you get to see them?
Once, if we're lucky, twice a year. So, but we're talking all the time back and forth on WhatsApp.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because people are moving, kids are moving on. How do you make sure that you keep that connection, even if they're in another country or another state or a city or whatever? How do you keep that going? Because it really is essential on some level to keep that family unit together in whatever way, shape, or form you can.
Mm-hmm.
True. That is so true. One way is FaceTime, Zoom. That's today's way of doing things, especially since we had the COVID-19. Our family did not get together for Thanksgiving. And we all Zoom and had dinner. Maya's in Washington, D.C. My daughter's an hour away, and she's in Rockaway, and I'm in Staten Island. So one way to stay connected is through Zoom or FaceTime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's so important. Again, the connection is so important. My family did the same thing with Thanksgiving. We're all over the country, and yet we did Zoom and we had Thanksgiving dinner together, which was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And that's essential. So let's get back a little bit to, is it Santa? What are the characteristics? I mean, is it Santa? Do you bring Santa in the book at all? And how is Santa portrayed?
That's such a great question. That's such a great question, because the title is it Santa? So you're assuming, oh, it's all about Santa. No, it is not about Santa, even though it happened during the Christmas season. It's all about the squirrels during the Christmas season. It just happened that he came through the chimney top to steal the Christmas cookie that belonged to Santa.
So when you read the story to children, and you probably read it to a lot of other children, how did they feel that Santa didn't have the cookies? Was there a new batch that was made? What happened for the cookies and Santa?
Definitely a new batch, because these cookies were spread all over the house. So these squirrels made a mess. And new batch of cookies for Santa. But the story is not about Santa. And that's one thing I want my audience and my readers to understand, that even though the title is it Santa, it's all about a mystery and based on a true story that happened during the Christmas season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, initially I thought it was your family's story, but then you relate it was the other
Alexa's story.
Right.
I just used my grandkids in the story.
So you talked about Jacob, who you made the hero because of all the firefighters who were helping out, and they're always heroes helping us throughout so much, especially now with COVID. Why did you decide to make Jacob the hero?
That's a great question. I decided to make Jacob the hero because nobody expected that. No one expected the youngest. You know how he's the baby, but he was the smart one. And he was the most inquisitive one to do his own investigation. He took it upon himself. So he was very intelligent. and he was only 6 years old, and he does solve the mystery. So I gave him the power.
And that's beautiful, because what that also does when you're reading that to children, they come away with, wow, I could be doing things too. I could be a sleuth. I could do whatever. I could be a fireman. And so it allows them, yes, it allows them to think about, I could do something like this too. I may not solve a mystery, but I can have abilities that nobody would ever think for me. So I think it's brilliant. I really do.
When I was writing the story, that's exactly what came to my mind. And because I'm an early childhood teacher, I saw that in the classroom with my second graders during a science project, how inquisitive they were and how they were able to solve the problem with a magnifying glass. So I saw that and I brought it into my book. And I wanted to let the readers know when either the children are reading it or a parent is reading it, that children can be superheroes too, even though they're young.
And that's so important. We need to be able to emphasize that, because oftentimes what happens is, oh, you're too young, you can't do that. Or, and again, this is a new, really a refreshing look at, yes, you can. And Nikki was talking earlier about spreading your wings. Well, they don't have to leave the home to be able to spread their wings a little bit and investigate and get more power and get more strength. And your book just brings that out in such a beautiful way, Nelibeth, that kids, I want to be a hero too. I'm a hero, right? So you mentioned the using a magnifying glass in class. Tell us a little bit about that story. What was that about?
When I was doing science experiments in the classroom, the children would need the magnifying glass to really, even if it was a piece of log, a small piece of log, doing intense investigation with the magnifying glass and describing every detail of what they were seeing with the magnifying glass. So I kind of brought that into my book. And that's what the character Jacob experienced.
So how did they feel in the class being able to use this magnifying glass and again, investigate and experiment and be scientists to some extent?
It gives them a lot of power because they all see something different and they're able to share it and have accountable talk and higher order thinking ability. So it gives the children in second grade a lot of power. They feel like they're scientists.
And again, we're talking about spreading wings, Nikki, right? That's all about spreading our wings and figuring it out.
Making decisions, choices, all of those things.
Right. And experimenting and finding out things, which is a beautiful aspect of this book, Nelibeth, because you've made it a mystery. And so throughout, we don't know initially, like, is it an intruder? I mean, all the firefighters are coming, that everybody, the family is out. It's like, oh, what's going to happen? Is there somebody there that's really going to do damage? And well, yeah, there is, but it's only a family. Well, it's a family of squirrels.
Yeah, that's a good point about the intruder, because when the children walked in, it was their last day of school and they're all excited because Santa is coming. But the children immediately assumed that it was Santa. But then, because they were so smart and so inquisitive, they're like, but wait a minute. Santa would never knock down the red poinsettias from the windowsill. And Santa would never make this mess. And how would Santa come in through the vent that's over the stovetop? Isn't he too big? So the children are asking the adults these questions.
It's brilliant. It's really brilliant. Mm-hmm. So what's your next book?
I wrote, and ReadersMagnet is in the process of illustrating my book, and we're editing it. And as we speak, we're working on that. It's a sequel to Is It Santa?
Another mystery?
Yes, the title of my book is Secrets in the Attic.
Oh.
And the secrets are being kept. The children are not telling the parents what's going on up in the attic.
Oh,
So
I can
they're
identify with one of those.
So are they having their own secrets up in the attic?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So
So
tell us.
it goes on. The squirrels are around.
Okay. So when will this book be out, or do you know, or do you have a date yet?
Oh, we don't have a date yet. They're working on it. I already turned in the manuscript. So we're working on it. We did the editing part already, and the illustrators are working on the illustration. So it should be soon.
I'm excited because we have to have the sequel if we know that there's another book. I mean, I need to know. I need to know what's going on in the attic.
It's
Now,
great.
do you have all the same characters?
Yes, that's what I was going to add. It is the same characters, but a different plot, of course. But yes, you're going to have the same characters. And you're going to have Maya, Charlie, Jacob, mother, Rebecca, and the father, and a lot of action.
Can't wait.
A lot of action.
So what message do you have for children, because you're writing these beautiful books for children? What's important for them to receive and to get from the books that you're bringing forth to families?
The message is that being inquisitive for Is It Santa, that young children can have the power to be superhero even though they're young. So I want my readers to take that message. It's family oriented, and also that animals have rights too.
Yes, beautiful.
Animals have rights. They they need to eat.
And they're also inquisitive, and they're also independent, and they need to be treated with respect.
Yes.
Even if they are messing up your home, have a little understanding and patience. Like you said, they're hungry, but don't kill them. Find a way to gently remove them, or create another story for what they're doing in the attic the second time around.
Yes, I agree. And I would like my readers to take away from the book, The Red Oak Rocking Chair, that it is bilingual. So I have the Christmas. Can I read it?
Please.
Mm-hmm.
Is this what is this? The Christmas?
This is the Red Oak Rocking Chair.
What you're reading is just around the Christmas dinner, or?
Okay, what the rocking chair experiences during the holiday.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yes.
So the rocking chair is saying this. However, my favorite meal was on Sundays after church. The traditional Puerto Rican food, arroz con pollo, yellow rice with chicken, stewed red beans, totones, fried plantain, and avocado salad. Yummy. Christmas was my favorite time of year because the aroma of the Christmas family dinner was amazing. Arroz con gandule, yellow rice with pigeon peas, pernil, roast pork, pastele, green banana dough with stuffed meat wrapped in banana leaves, and finally, dessert. Arroz con dulce, Puerto Rican style sweet rice pudding with cinnamon and raisin. Yummy, yummy in my tummy.
You're getting me hungry. I love plantains. They're so delicious. Now, that's beautiful. Do you have that traditionally every Christmas?
Yes. So I brought my culture into my book, The Red Oak Rocking Chair.
And, you know, that's so very important, because it's important, again, to embrace different cultures, to be able to see that we can share cultures and learn from them, and also cooperate and find ways to, now I want to have that dessert. I'm going to have to come visit you so you can make that Christmas and I can share that dessert with my family.
Anytime. And the house smells so wonderful with all those different meals, you know, all those different items.
Well,
It just smells so wonderful.
according to the rocking chair, yes. Right.
Yes.
Now I was thinking, well, maybe the rocking chair tasted some because somebody sat in it and just had a
Spilled some.
No, he's just expressing his favorite time of the year.
So let's look at the first book again, The Rocking Chair. Why did you make it a male? You said he.
I don't know. It could be a she, because it looks more of a she in the last page. She has lipstick.
Yeah, it's a she.
Oh yeah, see, it is a she. You know, it's interesting because she's crying because her child is moving away. I actually had you wouldn't think that men get so upset about their young men, their sons going off, but I had someone in my office, this father, his son was going off to college, and he was just crying and crying because, again, it's a new experience, it's an adventure, and yet it's the next stage, and we have to prepare everybody, even grandparents, for that next stage,
Oh,
right?
yes, yes. And that's what this book is about. It's about really me, the grandmother, but through the rocking chairs, telling the story. But yeah, it's the emotion involved, and the idea that you do have to detach with this baby. You know, it's no longer a baby. 18 years old.
So how did you go through that? How did you come to terms with that?
A lot of phone calls, texting, you know, video chats. Whenever my granddaughter has the opportunity, she visits from Washington. In fact, she was here last week in this room. This is her room.
Very fitting to do this in her room. I love it.
This is Maya's room. And she was here last week on a break. She's teaching second graders, I think. So she does the Zoom and then in person. And yeah, this is her room. And, you know, it reminds me so much of all the good times we had in this room. And when Maya was a toddler, a lot of finger painting. I just missed all that. You know, I missed all that. I do think about it. I have a lot of videos.
Well, that's beautiful. And memories never get lost. So that's important. We have another question from our audience. What tips do you have, if any, for prospective children's authors?
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful question. Allowing the child to express themselves through paper, writing and illustrating. When I was a classroom teacher, my favorite subject was the writer's workshop. And the children, all of them, second graders, will create their own hardcover book. And at the ending of their writing and illustration, they published the book, and then we invited their parents in celebration of their published book, their published work, and the parents will listen to each child read their story.
Beautiful. Now, actually,
I was just going to add, it looks like the person in the audience is wanting maybe to write a book. I would just add, go with what you know. and write about things that are close to home or what you feel comfortable with, what you can build upon, those kinds of things.
And I think that's so very important. I'm working with a client, and their dog died, and her young son has been grieving and grieving, but they're sharing stories, which is so important to be able to talk about it. And my suggestion was, since he's making up some stories about the dog and him, why not, like what you just did, Nelibeth, with your kid, why not put that in a storybook with him and make that come alive in some way? So somebody else in the audience has this great idea for you, and I love to see it so I could relish it. Why not do a Puerto Rican cookbook for dishes that kids will love? Not just kids, that I would love too, and Nikki would love, and all of us would love. Why not? Because
that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess in children's version, right? So the children can do the cooking?
Right.
Yeah. Right. So what kind of dishes would you include?
I would definitely include like the plantains, how to make the fried plantains. There's two different dishes. One is a very sweet plantain, which is the yellow ripe plantain. It's very sweet. With the supervision of parents, of course, they can either fry it or they can bake it.
Mm-hmm. So that's the one I know, the sweet ones. There's another. What else?
Yes, there's another one where the plantain is green. You can slice it and fry it, and then once you fry it, you take it out and then you mash it up, and then you fry it again, and it becomes very crispy, and you can put a little bit of salt, or you could do a special red sauce.
Oh,
what is that?
Mashed garlic with ketchup, olive oil, oregano, and a little bit of barbecue sauce.
Nikki, we need to go join together and visit Nelibeth's house. And
there you go.
Right? Enjoy some of this delicious feasts. Do you love to cook as well as write and teach?
Look at me. I'm not skinny. I love rice and beans.
Well, this has been so wonderful, and these books are so very important, and again, not just for children, but for all generations. Everybody can get something out of them, and not only is it fun and adventurous, but there are lessons that are imbued in all of that, both of those books, and we can't wait for more. Nelibeth Plaza, I think it's so wonderful. And again, I think it's so important to recognize the heroes in all of us, especially in the children, like we've been talking about with Nikki and Nelibeth, because children need to know, as we've been talking about, that they can be powerful, not over people, but have their own strength and their own abilities, and feel empowered with everything that's going on, and participate like you have children do in the books. They're doing the investigation. They're the ones that are actually seeking out and finding out what is really happening behind the scenes, and it's not Santa. And that's beautiful.
I would like to also just invite all of the audience to click on to StreamYard and go to the events and check out the 100 and however many booths that are there, and go see Nelibeth's booth, and you can interact, see who's on for the author of the hour or whatever, and you can have a conversation with the authors and everybody else.
We have so many more authors and more authors of the hour and more booths, so please make sure that you're participating and making use of this time, because it's going on this weekend and next weekend, and our authors are waiting anxiously for you folks to participate and to find out more about what's behind the scenes and what it takes. And it's beautiful. Any parting words, Nellie Beth, before we close?
Yes, that the audience can go to my website, NelliePlaza.com. Also NellibethPlaza.com. They can purchase the books. They're available, Barnes & Noble, Amazon.
And I want to thank ReadersMagnet again, because without what you folks are doing, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you for all your hard work and for the beautiful authors and successes. And everybody have a blessed day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.